Namaste, it's Sahara Rose, and welcome back to the Highest Self podcast, a place where we discuss what makes you your soul's highest evolvement. First, a note from our sponsor, Splendid Spoon. Splendid Spoon is a vegan, gluten-free, GMO-free, super Ayurvedic food delivery company that delivers food all around the country. They have incredible breakfasts, like different smoothies that are low glycemic, that contain ingredients like rose water and flax seeds. Their lunches are incredible. They have cauliflower tikka, chana potato stew, different khicheris, all sorts of delicious things. You can check it out by going on splendidspoon.com/Sahara and you'll receive $25 off your order. I was just having this conversation with some friends and I wanted to take it to the podcast to talk to you guys who are my other group of friends. And the topic was about influencers and how influencers play such a massive role in society. Influencers are like the new celebrities. We talk about them. We feel like we know them. They are the people that advertisers are now shifting their focus to. Before in fashion weeks, it was like, photographers and magazines in the front row. And now it's influencers. And influencers have really become sort of the voices in modern society. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And I'll explain why. So before, the people who everyone had their eyes on were just actors, actresses, models, singers, people in the entertainment field. And now that we have the internet, we are able to create our own platform. Anyone can become an influencer. You don't have to be casted for a TV show that's only looking for tall blondes with big boobs. You don't have to look like Hercules. You don't have to, be able to sing and dance like Madonna. Like anyone can become an influencer. And there's influencers in so many different categories, from wellness to spirituality to fashion to car racing to knitting to yoga to everything in between. And every category has its own, big influencers and sub-influencers, et cetera. It's this great ginormous web that really the internet has created. And even 5 years ago, there were really no such thing as influencers. There was such thing as bloggers, but influencers is sort of a different thing because a blogger had a very kind of defined role. They had a blog, whereas a lot of influencers don't even have blogs. They're just people that are highly followed on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or YouTube and have gained this following for whatever reason. Now, I feel like a lot of us, when we hear about influencers, we automatically go to this negative of like, oh, that's so messed up. Why does this person have this many followers? That doesn't make sense. But really, we should be thinking of it as an opportunity. It's a huge opportunity to bring our message out to a wider audience. And by bringing our message out, we change the world. We change the content that's consumed. We don't just have to watch the Kardashians anymore. We can learn about Reiki healing and shamanism and, different types of nutritionary theories and Buddhism and flower arrangements and all sorts of cool things. And this kind of stuff would never be on TV. This kind of stuff would never, get like typical American ratings. But there's a subgroup for everything. So it's kind of amazing because we're able to consume the exact content that we want. I mean, even in the wellness field, there are so many subgroups. There are vegan people, raw vegan people, Ayurvedic people, macrobiotic people, paleo people, keto people, SIBO people, FODMAP people, everything in between, So there's not even a wellness influencer. There's a bajillion types. So we're able to really curate the kind of content that we want to consume. And we're also able to create content on stuff that normally was not ever talked about. So this is why it is important more than ever to step up. And if you have a message that wants to be shared, it's your turn to be an influencer. And we really need more conscious influencers out there, because what often happens that I've seen is the most conscious people I know with incredible ideas who are highly gifted They don't want to use social media oftentimes. They're doing their thing. They're working maybe one-on-one with people, or they're in the jungle. Like I'm thinking of Malika, my teacher, who's on episode 53, so they're not involved. But if they got on social media and they used it, a tool to share their message, they'd be able to reach so many more people and share their magic with the world and really uplift the vibration of this planet. So I think instead of running away from social media, if we have a message that we want to share, we should go towards it and see, how can I use this tool to create a message of consciousness? How can I create light? How can I make people's Instagram feeds more engaging, uplifting, motivating, awe-inspiring, thought-provoking? We need more qualities like that on our news feeds. And we can't sit back and complain that, all the influencers are just, sharing contouring tutorials and plastic surgery and, XYZ, when we are not out there actively creating the good content. So what happens a lot of the time is the people who have vain interests, they're not really interested in the inner work. They're more interested in the outer work. How do I get a six-pack? How do I have perfect makeup? Not that, there's anything inherently wrong with those things, but it's not the deeper truth. It's just surface level. But those are the people who are going out there and creating the content, and then they're generating greater and greater audiences because that's just the content available, and people are going to consume whatever they can get. And then our society shifts into a more surface level driven society, which it already has been from years of media that we've seen, from Baywatch to Gossip Girl to whatever else. So we need to be the ones who are going to change what is on social media. We have to step up as conscious influencers. So the first thing that we have to do is block away the fear. The reason why a lot of us are not truly sharing our messages on social media is because we are afraid of what people are going to say. We have imposter's syndrome. We are afraid that we are not worthy, that we are not smart enough, we're not spiritual enough, we're not healthy enough. Who am I to share my message? I know before I started health coaching, I shared this in the podcast episode all about becoming a health coach, but I felt like, how can I be a health coach because I don't have perfect health? But that's not a prerequisite to being a health coach. A prerequisite to being a health coach is a desire to help others. No one has perfect health. It doesn't exist. And no one has a perfect life. So it doesn't mean you have to have everything figured out in all areas of your life to help other people. You just have to have a desire to. So if you want to help women love themselves more because it's something that you've struggled with, then talk about it. If you want to help people heal themselves from hormonal imbalance because it's something that you've been dealing with, then talk about it. Whatever it is that you've been dealing with, that's the best thing that you have an expertise on because you've been there. And even if it's not fully healed, as long as you've made strides of rapid improvement, that's really what matters. If you can tell people like, hey, I was here, down here, and now I'm up here, that's motivating. So you don't need to have everything in your life figured out to start speaking and start sharing. As long as you have solid advice on how to help people, how they can improve whatever situation they're in, then you should be sharing. So we need more conscious influencers. We need people to step away from the fear. You need to see that if people don't receive your message, they're going to still be left in the dark. And I think when we think about it that way, if I'm not sharing my truth, people will be left in the dark. That kind of puts this a little bit of a push to it because you're saying, wow, I actually really need to step up. I need to stop being so in my head. I need to stop being afraid. I need to stop being scared of being seen or being heard because people need me. And there are other women or men who've gone through what I've gone through. And by me sharing my truth, I'm helping them. And I'm inspiring others to do the same. The fear is all in your head, right? It's like before you're about to public speak and you're shaking and your palms are sweating and you're so nervous. And then you get up there and at the beginning you're kind of nervous and awkward, but you start talking and it's flowing. And then afterwards you were like, great job, that was awesome. And you're like, oh my God, I was so nervous. And they're like, oh, really? I couldn't tell. Because the nerves were all in your head. It was something that you created, but it wasn't really there. It's normal to feel fear. It's normal to be scared before a big launch, before putting yourself out there, before you've worked so hard on something that's going to be out into the world. But that jittery feeling that you're experiencing can easily be channeled into excitement, because nervousness and excitement are really the exact same emotion, but one is construed in a negative way and one is construed in a positive way. So you're just experiencing an increase in energy, a shift in your vibration, and your mind might be taking it in a negative way of like, oh my God, I'm nervous. I can't do this. I'm a failure. Look at how my body's reacting. And you start going on this negative spiral. Or you could say, whew, my body's getting activated. I'm getting prepared. My adrenaline is soaring up so I can kill it in this talk, in this launch, in this webinar, whatever it is I'm going to do. And this is my body preparing me for what's to come. So again, it's all in the mindset. So fear is really just an illusion, because the things that we were afraid of once, swimming, like riding a bike, so many things that we were once afraid of, once we started practicing them, now they're second nature to us. Imagine the first time you drove a car, how scared you were. And now you're like barely even paying attention. You should be, but it's like, it's second nature to you. And eventually that's how you're going to feel with public speaking and with sharing your voice and sharing your message. Just tonight, this girl was like, how do you just like speak to a group of people and you're not scared? Like, I have so much fear and I'm, the whole day so nervous before I'm about to speak to a group of people. And I'm like, for me, it's become second nature. I've made this a part of my life, of who I am, because I know if I'm not sharing this message, if I'm not confident in what I'm saying, then this message will not be heard. So you have to take it out of your own story and your own context and see that really what you're doing, what you're sharing, is an experience for all others. It's all interconnected. And by you playing small, the world plays small. So we need more influencers doing beautiful things. We need to see people on YouTube who are helping others. We need to see people who are sharing their truth, their art, their magic, their work, who are unapologetically themselves. Instead of complaining about the route social media has gone and how people are so selfish or superficial, be the one who changes that. By you putting content out there that is the kind of content that you wish existed, you're creating that audience. Audiences aren't going to show up for you waiting for you to start. You have to be the one who puts yourself out there so you can call them over and create them. Your first episode, your first YouTube video, your first whatever it is, no one's going to be there yet. They have to see that you keep showing up. And by you showing up, you begin to slowly open their minds and see, wow, this is possible. I never even knew that there were YouTube channels on Reiki healing. I didn't even know there were podcasts on spirituality. I didn't even know that there were coaches that did this thing. You have to be the one that shows them this. So we really need to step up to the plate. We need to build platforms that spread change, and we need to let go of any fears that are keeping us back from really embodying our sacred mission on this planet, because none of your gifts are accidental. None of your wisdom is purposeless. Everything that you've been given, everything that you've experienced is for a very important reason. And if you keep it locked up, you keep it in a box, no one's going to know. I said this in my episode 49 about the 27 lessons I've learned in my 27 years. And one of them was put your best shit out there. I see a lot of people, they have ideas for a book or for a podcast, but they don't want to tell anyone or post about it until they know about the book, they know about this, or they want to keep it for their clients. That's the biggest mistake you could make. Because if you're keeping your best ideas to yourself, no one's going to know how smart and how great you are. Like, really think about that. If you're keeping your very best thoughts to yourself. No one's going to hear them. No one's going to know how amazing you are. What a genius idea that is. No one's going to be able to be healed from them. Like, I see people who they talk one-on-one with you about these amazing contents. I'm like, you should make a YouTube video about that. You should coach about that. You should teach about that. They're like, oh no, not me. Who am I? I can't do that. I'm just a mom. I'm just this. I'm just that. I'm like, no, you're saying really cool stuff. I'm gaining a lot of value from it, and I'm sure others would too. Why don't you just record this somewhere so other people can hear it, or, create a workshop around this or something? But it's their own fears, their own limiting beliefs. Who am I? I'm not ready. I'm not there yet. But it's like, if you live your life that way, then you're not going to be there yet, because we create our reality through our mind. And if your mind is constantly saying, oh, I'm not ready, I'm just a mom, what is that telling the universe? It's saying, don't give opportunities to me because I don't think I'm deserving of it. If you're saying, oh, I'm not smart enough, your mind's going to be like, okay, I guess we're not smart. She's telling me we're not smart, so guess we'll dumb down. But if every day you're telling yourself, like, yes, I am ready for a massive breakthrough. I am intelligent. I'm smart. I'm capable. I got this going. You're not lying to yourself and you're not pep talking yourself. You're just telling yourself the truth, because you are a freaking genius. We all are. The only reason that we don't act that way is because our minds are telling us that we're not. So we need to be sharing our best ideas so other people can hear them. And guess what? When you share your best ideas, you come up with more. Imagine that when you were 7 years old, you came up with a genius idea. You're like, I'm not going to tell anyone this idea until I write a book about it. And you're just thinking about, that's my great idea. That's my great idea. I'm not going to think of other ideas. You know what? You'd be so stuck on that one idea that you wouldn't even think of others, because you'd constantly be thinking about, how can I keep this idea? How can I store it in my little prized possession box? That you wouldn't think of more. You'd remain as your 7-year-old self. But if you had that idea and then you said, oh, wow, I have this idea of making hot air balloons that serve lunch to people. I don't know, whatever it is. And then someone else was like, oh, that actually exists. Let me tell you more about it. But here's how you could expand. And then you start thinking about ways to make it better. And that's how an idea grows. An idea grows by sharing. Imagine people showed up in a business meeting and no one talked about their ideas because they all want to keep it to themselves. Would that business grow? Would anything be done in that meeting? No. But so many of us, we come to entrepreneurship with this super individualistic mindset that says, I need to keep my best ideas to myself because other people will steal them and then I won't be credited with them. That's really what our minds are telling us. And you know what? That's coming from a place of the ego, and that's coming from a place of fear. Because if you put your best ideas out there, people are going to see what great ideas you have and they're going to come to you for more. And your ideas are going to grow, and you're actually going to gain more attention and more recognition because you've shared your best ideas. Imagine I had the idea for this podcast and I just kept it to that one-on-one conversation. You wouldn't be here listening to it. So I try to always practice what I'm preaching of putting my best ideas and any thoughts I have that I think are going to be valuable for people out there, because then maybe you'll have an idea and it will spring into more and it will continue to grow. And you know what? My ideas are limitless. It's not going to stop here. This is my idea of these 5 minutes, and it's going to grow into more because I'm always sharing and I'm always growing and I'm always researching. So don't remain stagnant. Don't remain stagnant in your brain. Don't remain stagnant in your thoughts. Keep on expanding and growing. Those influencers that have always been the same, posting the same stuff, they're boring. It's like, how much can you say the exact same thing over and over again? It's like, okay, on one side, great, they're consistent to their brand. That's great. But we're human beings. We're not just brands. I even talked about this on the first episode. That's the hard thing about branding a human being. We're ever-changing entities. We are not just one thing. So you can somewhat try to brand it, but to be truthfully honest with yourself, especially if you have more of a Vata personality and you're changing quite quickly and you're on a spiritual path, which is going to make you even grow even faster, the moment you really brand yourself and are known for that thing, you're energetically going to move to something else, which is why, for me, when I've been doing Ayurveda for 7 years now. So when I released that first book, I was like, oh, okay, let's talk about spirituality. Let's talk about life. Let's talk about this, that, because I had already totally mastered that area of my life. I didn't need to think about it anymore. And even with this podcast, like you guys see, I talk about Ayurveda sometimes, but it's not the only thing that I talk about. Imagine if every episode was just Vata, Pitta, Kapha, Vata, Pitta, Kapha. That would get repetitive and boring for you and definitely for me. And there's so much more to me as a human being than just Ayurveda. That's just a tool that has helped me that I share, but it's not the only thing that's helped me, and it's not the only thing that I share. So I think if you really want to be an influencer and dynamic and relatable, show different areas of your personality. You don't have to box yourself as one thing. I know that some people may tell you, oh, only talk about a certain subject. And I do think it's good to have an expertise in a certain subject, especially from a business perspective. But from a true influencer perspective, I think you should show different parts of your personality. Show, what kind of life do you live? What do you do for fun? Like, what do you talk about? Like people, if as an influencer, people want to get to know you. If you're not interested in being an influencer, that's totally cool. Just talk about your business. But if you want to be someone who people feel like they can relate to, that they know on a deeper level, that you're like a friend or a mentor to them, then show all parts of you. Don't just show your one-sided, perfect, curated Instagram self. Show the messy parts, show the sticky parts, show the dirty parts, show the shameful parts, show the shadows. Because that's really where people connect with you. People don't connect to a perfectly curated Instagram feed. I'm sorry, they don't connect to it. When I see those, I never follow them because I'm like, what is this? Looks like a magazine to me. This doesn't look real. I don't want to follow this. I want to follow the person that is authentic and honest and putting themselves out there. And sometimes it's beautiful and sometimes it's messy, and that's beautiful too. Those are the type of people that I like to follow, and I find that most people like that. People are, getting so sick of the curated Instagram feeds where everything looks like you photoshopped it for 12 hours and, you got a photographer following you around. Like, some of that is great, but it's not the only thing we want to see. We want to see the real you. So as an influencer, show the true you. Talk about your mess ups, talk about your failures, talk about the things that you wish you had done differently. And as you're growing, don't be afraid to be like, yeah, I used to talk a lot about this and this isn't really where I'm at anymore. And now this topic is really what's interesting me. And this is what I've been learning. Because chances are, if they're following you and they've been along with your journey, they're growing with you too. And some people are going to unfollow you and some people are going to leave, but the more people are going to come. And that's the beautiful thing about social media. It's just like ebb and flow of people coming and going, and the right people find you at the right time. Someone may have followed you 2 years ago and unfollowed you because you guys took different paths, and then follow you back later on. And that's cool too. I say don't create content for this audience that you think that you have, but create content for yourself. Create content for what is engaging for you at that time. And then you're going to get the right audience. Because so many people are so focused on that audience of what does my audience want? What does my audience look like? XYZ. But it's like your audience a year ago is different than your audience today. Your audience yesterday is different than your audience today. It's always changing. So if all we're doing is trying to think about this like imaginary person that doesn't truly exist, we're not creating authentic content anymore. And then it's just fake. And we're just staying stuck as our old selves and we're not growing. I mean, this time last year, my Instagram was Eat Feel Fresh. I was still totally posting food photos because I was afraid that if I showed more pictures of myself or other areas of my life, people would unfollow me. So I stayed stuck of making more recipes and photographing them and editing them. And it was this whole long process that would take me hours per photo. And I felt like, I have to keep this up because that's what people want from me because I'm Eat Feel Fresh. And I just done culinary school. But finally, it was in May of 2017 that I was like, okay, this is my now or never chance. Like, if I don't change my Instagram name to my actual name, then once my book comes out, it's going to be too late. So I'm just going to do it, even though on my book, on the back of my book says at Eat Feel Fresh for all of the first copies of the book. which is thousands of copies. But I was like, you know what? I'd rather just be me and just post about who I am and what interests me than feel like I have to be this brand. Because Eat, Feel Fresh is a part of me, but it's not the entire me. I'm just Saharas. So I changed that name and I experienced such freedom. And I was like, hey guys, listen, I actually don't want to post about food anymore. Like, I love food, but that's not the only thing that I do. That's not the only me. And it's getting really boring for me. And I think there's a lot more important things that I want to share about. And also there's a lot more healing things. Food is just like 1/5 of the equation, but I want to talk about how to live your life and how to think and take care of yourself and all of these other types of things. So I'm going to be posting about this. And I'm sure a lot of people unfollowed me, but you know what? Way more people eventually came to me. So I think this time last year, I had like 30,000 followers, and now it's like over 70,000, which is like, more than double the amount of people. And that's from shifting away from being this brand, from being Eat, Feel Fresh and beautiful food photos and, gorgeously plated and photography and this and that, but it had no soul. It's like just looking at a menu. Some people like that. It's eye candy, but you don't relate to that. It's just like, yum, that looks good. And you move on with your life. But now that I'm me, I can just post what's true to my heart. And that might be food, but most of the time it's a ton of other things. And people connect with that more. So as an influencer, you have that opportunity to really be your authentic self. And when you do it, you inspire others to do the same. You have no idea how many people who come up to me and say, I started a podcast because I started listening to yours. I started, posting more about myself and getting more into spirituality, XYZ, because of your Instagram. So by you stepping up, by you being your most radically expressive self, other people are like, wow, she's freaking embodying that. And that's so powerful. And I want to do more of that too. You're giving them permission without doing anything at all. So by us getting out of our own ways, getting out of our fears, getting out of this territorial mindset we have against our own content and just expressing ourselves, our best ideas, shining our brightest freaking light and knowing that there is so much more out there to shine. It's like the sun. The sun doesn't stop shining even over the shadows of the earth. It still continues to shine. It doesn't say, oh, this is a cloudy spot, I'm going to skip over it. Oh, I don't like this country, they have a weird political problem. Oh, it's been snowing over here, so I'm not going to shine here. No, the sun just shines everywhere, and it's endless, it's infinite, it never stops shining, and that's who you are. You are a radiant sun. You have so much light to give. You are full of energy, full of creativity, full of wisdom, full of joy, full of playfulness. You have all of that inside of you, and I'm not even just saying it. I truly, truly believe it. It's like when you look at a baby. Have you ever seen a baby? You're like, oh, that's a bad baby. That's a dumb baby. Oh, that baby's never going to amount to anything. No, all babies are little rays of sunlight. They are full of life, and you just look at them and you feel blessed to just be in their presence. You've never met a baby that's just like, ugh. Like, they're all so beautiful and kind and smiley and bubbly, except for when they're crying on airplanes. But even then, there's beauty to them. They're unapologetically themselves. So when did we decide that same baby is now unworthy? That same baby is now stupid. That same baby is never going to amount to anything. You are still that baby. You are that exact same soul. Your vessel has just gotten larger. But you still have that ray of sunlight. You still have that power to affect people with merely your presence. So don't forget who you truly are. Because the you that you're telling yourself you are is only just a fragment of your true potential. And as we're shifting as a planet into this more feminine era, we're exploring parts of ourselves that we have kept locked up for so many years. That creative part, that expressive part, that artistic part, that part of you that wants to feel and connect and dance and sing and inspire, that Shakti energy. That is you. Just as much as that badass masculine get things done energy is also you. You are both, but we've only been channeling that masculine. We've been so stuck in the get things done, be productive, do these things, finish my checklist, get as much content created as I can, be productive, make the most amount of money, blah, 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 which is important, but it's equally as important as the feminine stuff. And most of us are totally detached from the feminine because it's not the values that society has, ingrained in our heads since the moment we were born. And I hope for kids born after 2012, it's different now. But now we need to step into more of that, who's the artist that I was before they took away my pen from me? Who's the dancer I was before I didn't have time to dance anymore? Who is the Lego block builder I was before homework took over? Who is that kid? I remember as a kid, I was always doing art projects. Anytime you found me, I was doing an art project. I would make stained glass and jewelry and beads or whatever. I was always, always, always creating. And that's my energy. My energy is this always moving, always taking something and turning something else. And that's really what I'm like in terms of business. I'm always thinking, how can I build an opportunity here? Or how can I create something there? That's the true essence of me. Whereas some people, their essence is they were athletes from day one and they were on the soccer field, the basketball courts and the baseball fields and da-da-da-da. That's who they are. They need to be part of a team. They need to be part of a community. They love that feeling of teamwork, of sisterhood or brotherhood. That's who they truly are. Other people, they were musicians. My boyfriend as a kid was always playing musical instruments. He taught himself how to play 5 instruments, has never taken a music lesson in his life. After school, he'd beg his parents to drop him off at Guitar Center so he could just play with guitars, That's just what he loved to do. He's born to make music. So we're all born to do different things. So if we just tap into who was I before they told me who to be, then we can really figure out so much of us. And so much of that is connected to our dosha. Those with more vata energy tend to be more creators, artists, visionaries, things like that. Those with more pitta energy tend to be more teamwork, athletic, managerial, that sort of thing. Those with more kapha energy tend to be more calm, one-on-one. Maybe as a kid, you were always the mother, you wanted to play house and you're the caretaker, or you were taking care of animals. I had a lot of kapha energy as a kid, sort of in between the vata kapha of really loving art, but also really loving just taking care of things. And a lot of us with more feminine energy have that. So how can I channel that in my life? How can I take care of a little sister? How can I take care of an animal that needs help? How can I take care of my parents and my grandparents? Channel this energy in a positive way. So again, we need to embody those true gifts, and that's how we can be impactful influencers. That's how we can influence people to embody their own truths. There's nothing wrong with influencers. Influencers are a beautiful thing. We're so blessed to reincarnate at this time where we are creating our own media, where a random girl can pick up a headset from Amazon.com, be talking to no one on her computer at 12:30 at night, and you guys are listening to it. It's freaking amazing. I believe we reincarnated at the best time ever. And truthfully, the fact that we all chose this time says something about us. It says that we were meant to be on this time, because if your soul did not want to reincarnate during this era of information, it wouldn't have. It would have just been born 100 years ago when this didn't exist. So we're all here for a reason. We've all chosen this time for a reason. And the fact that we're here means that we want to be a part of this game. And especially if you're listening to it this much in, a part of you wants to be heard, a part of you wants to share your message, a part of you wants to, use this vessel, this wisdom that exists inside of you through social media and can impact others. So really honor that part of you that wants to truly, truly expand your voice, expand your message, and be heard. Don't belittle that part of you Be like, yes, let's go out there. It doesn't even matter if you don't know what you want to say. Just getting in the practice of speaking your truth and speaking your message, and the message will definitely come through. So if you found this episode helpful, I would love for you to take the discussion further in the Mind Body Balancers Facebook group. I am thinking about potentially in a few months doing a mastermind type program where I work with people, especially online spiritual wellness entrepreneurs, taking their business to the next level. So do let me know in the iTunes review if you're interested in something like that. And as a gift for leaving a review for this podcast, I will offer you the free copy of my unreleased book, Eat Right for Your Mind Body Type. This is the first book I ever wrote about Ayurveda. It's not going to be released anywhere, but I'm gifting it to you for free the first half. And all you have to do is leave a review for this podcast on the iTunes store and email it to me at Sahara, Sahara, at eatfeelfresh.com. Again, Sahara at eatfeelfresh.com. Email me the screenshot of the review. Take the screenshot before you hit send, because then it just says thank you for submitting, and write me a nice review, please. And I will send you back that ebook as a token of my gratitude. So I really appreciate you being here. I appreciate you wanting to, be a voice for a new generation and use your mess and make it truly your message. Namaste.